I can tell you how this all started. The three people behind me, I guess, just like to have extras too. They came in and they said, we've got an idea. And Mr. Haley, our school superintendent, had sent a letter to me saying that we should apply for a grant. So I got these three teachers together, and we did. We applied for a grant for $250 from the National Rural Education Association. And we were one of 6 schools to receive that. Then our electric cooperative volunteer electric matched that, so we ended up with $500, and that's how all this started. I'm not sure, I'm sure we spent more than $500, but one of the exciting things we did, it paid for field trips to coal mining sites for all the students at Bonnie Croft. From that, we really talked about nothing but coal mining since then, and that was 2 weeks ago. Another person that I'll introduce now, well, let me tell you, I'm not good with notes. I haven't paid attention. The 3 teachers who received that grant, Sherry Young, I'll let them go ahead and introduce the other people and tell you about our plans for the afternoon.
Okay, in the classroom all week this week and part of last week, we've been teaching lessons, and we want you to make sure that when you go to the building, you use all the class and charts and things that the kids have been working on. In order for us to do that, we had to have like textbooks to go by, and Betty Gold had been a reminder and her family a few years ago, and she compiled thesis for her master's degree, and this was what we used to teach by, and they're our textbooks for the kids, and we've asked her to come today and speak to us, and a lot of you don't see her at that time, or maybe you've met her, and we really appreciate the work that she's done, and she's told us that she's willing to have a book published, and that we can take a copyright back and have a book published, and we've got a sign-up sheet in the hallway in the foyer of the main building, that if you're interested in a copy of that book after it's published, sign up. We don't have it ready yet, we don't even have any idea of how many copies to order, so we need to have an idea, and that way we will be able to tell them how many we need and how much it will cost that way. So if you're interested in a copy of this book, please sign up in the foyer, because we're going to be ordering them, and then don't come back and say later, well, we wanted one. If you want one, you better sign your name, okay, because we're going to order them. I would like to introduce Betty Holt at this time. She's going to come and speak to us for a few minutes, and she's brought some of her memorabilia with her, and we just appreciate her traveling today and being with us. And if it wasn't for all the work that she's done, we wouldn't be able to do what we've done today. And I feel like we're talking about a lost art. It's almost all gone, all the buildings are almost gone, and if we don't keep this alive in the minds of our children, then we are going to forget all about it. And I don't think the people that lived back then, I don't think their way of life needs to be forgotten. I think we need to use it as a standard and something that we can look back and be proud of as a community. And I just appreciate her interest in this years ago and what she's done, and maybe we can build on that and even go farther and do more. Betty?
Thank you. I see a smiling face up there, Kelly Buffalo. She's one of the first people I met when I moved here 25 years ago. My husband came here to interview for a job for Thomas Industries then. And we moved on mountains 6 weeks later. And Kelly and Charles were the first people we met up here. They were really good neighbors. And I have a soft spot in my heart for them, especially Chuck, who used to come over every morning. And after he ate breakfast at home, he ate breakfast at my house. So I have really fond memories of the mountain, the people. And I think those fond memories that I had of the mountain is what made me decide in 1980 to do something about it. I was going to Tech, and I was working on my master's degree in history. And I was interested in local history because I think we can talk about who we are right here. That's the most interesting thing about history. And then we go back, we can branch out, from the state and the United States and the world. But it's from right here that we start. And I was interested in it, and my professor encouraged me, and I came over and began to do some things, to look into it, and see if I could find enough material here. Enough? I found lots to write something on. research. And I began to learn things. And I brought some things to show you today that I didn't know anything about when I started 15 years ago. And let's see what you all know about. I didn't know anything about this. This is a coal miner's hat, and they have a little light on it, a lamp. It's a grease lamp. They actually burn grease. And in 1888, when the mines first opened here, old number 1, this is the kind of cap the miners wore. And they wore this for a number of years, and then probably by about 1910, 1915, they had graduated to a hard hat with a carbide lamp, which you're probably more familiar with. I learned about these things, and I learned about some other things. I learned about, this is script, and it has Bonaire Coal and Iron Corporation on it, but it has Allen, Tennessee on it, not Bonaire, Tennessee. So I'm not sure about if it was really here or not. It's part of the company. And I learned about these things. I didn't know anything about it when I started. And I went to Charlie Leonard. I'm sure a lot of you remember Charlie Leonard. He was the town historian. He knew everything about everything. And Charlie gave me what material he had. He had Dr. Young's memoirs or history, and he gave me that. And he told me about a 1902 supplement to the Scarlet Spot that had some material in it. And you normally, when you're a historian, you go to the newspapers to find information. So I went to the newspapers. And I found out that the newspapers had all burned about 1960. They weren't available. So I said, well, the company records. There was a company here, they had records. Well, I found out they had moved to Whitwell, Tennessee when they left here in 1936. And the records had been burned too. So what was I going to do? Where was I going to get enough information to write 100 pages? And it dawned on me that there were people here, people that had lived during this era, that knew all about mining and knew all about Bonaire and Easton and Quincy and Ravenscroft and Duross. And I started to look around for these people. And the first person I talked to was Betty South, Bohannon, she is now, and her mother, because they had been my neighbors when we had lived on this now on Grove Road. And I talked to her first. And you know how we are, we pass things on. Well, she passed me on to Cecil and Harry Chittick. And Cecil and Harry Chittick passed me on to Ben and Coach Welch, and passed me on to more and more people. And the third person I interviewed, one of his sons is here today, and I interviewed Archie Smith. He was the third person that I interviewed. And I just kept on, and it just kept growing, growing, and growing. And before I finished, I interviewed about 45 people, either miners themselves or they were family members of mine. And they told me lots and lots and lots of stuff. And I learned and learned and learned. Ben Welch told me that by the time I got through, that I could be a coal miner. I'm not sure I wanted to be a coal miner, but I knew a lot because they had told me a lot. And I just thought I'd like to share with you all today some of the things that I learned from them. And I'd like to pass it on to you, and I think it's being passed on to the children here already. I was just amazed when I went to school about the things they have done and how they're learning. This is the way to learn. This is the way to do history. It's just great. I'm really impressed. I sort of get goosebumps when I think about it. But let me just sort of tell you a few of the things I learned. I learned that there was a company here. I learned that there was a man that had started this company. This man was a Civil War general. His name was George Gibbs Dibble. He got the money together. He got the railroad to come in, and he opened the first mine. 1888. There was also another man that came here in 1888, and that was William Byrd Young. He was a doctor. And Dr. Young is going to be here from 1888 until 1936 in one capacity or another. He was a continuous force or stability that this company had. I also learned that there was more than one company here. There was the Bon Air Coal Land and Lumber Company, and that was started here, Bon Air, and started down on the hills on railroad bed to begin with. And then about 1893, it moved up on the tableland. The buildings here, the company store, the company office, they moved up there. But there was another company as well, and it started about 1903, I believe. And that was the Wood Street Coal and Coke Company to begin with. Now, both of these companies are going to change names through the years, more than once, actually. But in 1919, they come together as one company. And then in 1926, they're purchased by another company named Tennessee Products Corporation. And the Tennessee Products Corporation was here until 1936. I learned all of this from these people that I talked to. They told me. Very generously, they told me. I also learned some other things. I learned about the people that moved here. In the beginning, they needed experienced miners. People didn't mine around here in 1888. So they looked around and they found people that had come from Scotland. And I see the daughter of one of those people right now, Queen Bella Pye, is sitting here. And her father, David Pye, was one of the first miners in the 1890s. He was here as a coal miner. There were others. The Toms came, the MacArthurs, the Smiths came a little later, about 1905. They all came from the Scotland area, and they were experienced miners. The Chittets came. Then a little bit later, about 1910, 1913, we get some miners coming in here from Czechoslovakia that were experienced miners, over the Glade Creeks where they settled. And they too were experienced. But you have the majority of miners, they weren't experienced. They never mined before. They came out of White County, and Putnam County, and DeKalb County. They came here because there were jobs here. There was a demand for coal. Industry and trains ate up a lot of coal. And there was a demand for it. And these people came because there were jobs here. And they went to work in the mines and they learned the job on the job. And they learned to do it really well. Herman Calvin told me that you really had to be a smart man to be a coal digger. And I believe he was right. You did have to be a smart person to be a coal digger. You had to timber because you had to save your life. You didn't want the mine falling in on you. You had to know how to handle dynamite and powder. You didn't want to blow yourself up. You had to be an intelligent human being to do this. And they were. And they mined coals here from 1888 to 1936 when the company was here. They couldn't have done this unless the railroad had come in. And the railroad came in 1888. General Gilroy was responsible for this happening too. And the railroads came in, the Nashville, Chattanooga, and St. Louis Railroad came in here. And I understand that it came in 4 or 5 trips a day. It made on and off of this mountain. We had passenger cars as well as the coal going off the mountain. But in this way, the coal got off this mountain and out into the world and sold. It was a profitable thing to do. The towns. I learned a lot about the towns too. I've already mentioned the 5 towns that were here. 4 of them were coal mining towns, and DeRossi was really a railroad town. They serviced the railroad out of DeRossi. But the coal mining towns, they had a lot of things in common. The company built the houses. They owned the houses. They rented the houses to the miners. The company owned everything in the town. They were company towns. And they owned everything. They owned the company store. They owned school buildings they built. They owned collar shop, the butcher shop, whatever was there, they owned it. And they might let somebody else come in if they wanted to and build a shop. But the company owned these towns, and the company wasn't a good company to work for most people seem to think. They treated you pretty well most of the time. But the people, to me, when same thing. A lot of times that women do today, they cook and they sew and they clean, except it was harder to do it because you didn't have electric stoves, you had coal stoves or wood stoves going on. Everything was harder more time. Women took in boarders sometimes in order to supplement the pay that Snyder's got. And they worked this way. There were also women that worked as domestics in the hotel. There were hotels in these families too, the house, the manor. And women taught school. Cecil Chittick would be one of those women that taught school. I believe she began teaching here about 1928 and taught for about 40 years right here. But the children, what about the kids? What did they do? Well, they worked some too. They came to school and they played some. And I thought I'd like to say a few things about the school. I'm sure if you were here, you remember something about the school. The schools were free-pouring buildings. The company built them. The miners had money taken out of their check each payday in order to help pay the teachers' salaries. And the teachers here on the mountain were paid much better than the teachers down in Sparta and the rest of the county. They got a supplement every month. And therefore, they probably got the best teachers they could pay for. They had good schools. The schools went to the 9th and 10th grades. The children studied what you would expect children to study: reading, writing, arithmetic, geography, history. And the interesting thing about it is that books weren't furnished. You had to buy your own books. The books were passed from child to child within the family. You also had to buy your paper, your pencil. You probably did this at the company store. But it was here to do that. The children had an hour for lunch, probably a 15-minute to a half an hour recess in the morning and in the afternoon. They went to school from 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock, a little longer day. They had some special events during the year. One of the special events was going to the fair. Catherine and Elizabeth Tom are no longer with us, but they told me that they used to go to the fair. And they remember about 1915, they went to Sparta to the fair. And they went on the train, and the school children sang, and Elizabeth remembered what they sang. They sang, "Columbia, the gem of the ocean." And Catherine remembered that she was about 8 years old, and that she had embroidered and cross-stitched a little tea towel, and she had taken it to the fair. And now the fair then was held on courthouse grounds. That's where it was, the first fairs. And she remembered that she said she got first prize. She got a blue ribbon. And she was really proud of this. So children were involved in outside things other than on the mountain. And then a Christmas tree party. Harry Chittick told me about the Christmas tree party. And it seems like the children would decorate the schools. When they have a special night, the parents came and all the children got something. They got a little brown bag with fruit and candy in it. This was Christmas. And I remember Harry Chittick sitting in his living room telling me about this, and he got a twinkle in his eye and sort of a smile on his face, and he said, that was some night, that Christmas tree. Big memories in people's minds. They also had graduation this time of year. The schools would be decorated with spring flowers. The students would sing songs, they'd have a program where they'd have recitations and there'd be speakers, and also they got diplomas, 8th, 9th, 10th grade diplomas. You all went on for their education because there weren't any high schools here. You had to go to Sparta after about 1910, you could go to Sparta or to Pleasant Hill to go on to high school. Few of the people did, but most of the people that lived here either got married very young if they were women, or if they were men, they went into the mines very early. I remember that Archie Smith told me that he went into the mines when he was 12 years old, and he went in as what he said was a chalk eye. And I heard this chalk eye term, and I thought, what on earth is a chalk eye? And I finally asked, and people told me that a chalk eye was the person that went in with probably his father or a relative and would load the coal into the cars before it came out. And I told us with their eyes. So they were chalk eyes or white eyes, they're called. But he went to work at what's called a cornbread mine. And this was in Eastland, or outside of Eastland. And he said it was called a cornbread mine because you didn't make enough to eat anything with cornbread. He remembered making 50 cents a day when he worked for his father. I'm sure his pay increased. But children did work. If they didn't work in the mines, they would probably work at home. The girls helped their mothers with things that needed to be done. Olive Austin Ellis told me that her father once said that now Olive can't start school until we get the apples up. She couldn't start because she had work to do. And Maggie Banks Eller told me that she would have to iron on Tuesdays, and lots of times she wouldn't go to school on Tuesdays because she had to iron. So they had to work. Cora Stubbs Cooley told me that in order to get ready to go to school, she had to buy her own clothing, and she picked blackberries in the summertime in order to be able to do this. And she said she got 10 cents a gallon for blackberries. Children work, but they also play. And when I asked them what they did for their playing, I heard a lot about baseball. Baseball was the thing around here in the 1910s and 1920s. In fact, they tell me there was a couple of people that played ball in this town that went on to play in the major leagues. The man's name was Earl Webb and Buck Stewart played in the major leagues. So people had a reason to be proud of their ball players. They were good players. Entertainment also included going to the movies, and there were some movies here, not theaters like we know today, but movies that would show in a tent maybe, or in a barn-like building, or here in Bon Air, it was the upstairs of the company store where you went to the movies. And Cecil Chittick told me that she used to go when she was a little girl, and she always wanted to sit next to a grown-up here. And I thought that sounded a little odd. You know, we normally think you want to sit next to kids. But she said no, she wanted to sit next to an adult because the adult would read the captions to her on the movies. They weren't talking. Music. People told me on the day Maiden came here and gave shows on the mountains. One of the groups up here brought him in one time. So there was music, live music here on the mountain. And then after the mid-1920s, people kept on radio. Children enjoyed this on a Saturday night. They listened to, you know what, the radio lottery on Saturday night. 4th of July was another special event. The company put on a picnic the 4th of July, and everybody went. There were doubleheader ball games, and there was barbecue, and all the lemonade you could drink. It was a marvelous time. It was a playtime. So, this mountain had a lot to tell me. These people had a lot to tell me. And they told me very generously. They told me with love in their hearts. They were glad to talk about something that they knew about. It was a part of them. And in doing so, they really made it a part of me. Because I'll never get away from this mountain. I think it's a beautiful place. I think it has a very rich heritage. And I think the people that have lived here in the past or that live in the future should be very, very proud to be from this area, from this mountain. Thank you.
I'm going to ask, is Ray Austin here? When we started this, we got a phone call from him, and his father, some of you might remember him, was Luther Austin, I believe, from Bon Air. And he told me something interesting. In Clay County, Scott County, I'm sorry, that's where he's living now, he is the president of the Coal Miners Association there. And that gave me an idea that maybe somebody here would like to start a Coal Miners Association. And what they do, they have an annual meeting like this. They have a banquet, they have a business meeting. And right now, they're trying to raise enough money to put up a memorial with all the coal miners' names on it. And he had a list of everybody. See, that's something we don't have. We have a lot of the names that have been interviewed and list that we have made. So if everybody that's here today, if you will go up in the foyer of the building, and you're up there, look at the list that we started on the wall, and write down names of people that you know work in the mines of Bon Air Mountain. And at least this will give us some place to start. That's what we're hoping this day will do. This day will give us a place to start, building on what Benny did so many years ago. And if we can just get a start, then maybe there's other things that we can do before the people that have all these memories are gone. And but that's one of the things we think you should do before you leave today. Another thing we want you to do is we have a slideshow prepared. And a lot of these are the pictures that Betty had. She made slides of them. And we use part of our money that we got from our grant to make our own slides so that our school has a copy of those slides. And Ms. Whittingham is going to have a slideshow every hour. So at 3:15, first slideshow will start. And then there'll be another one at 4:15, at 4:15, and then if we need another one, we'll do it at 5:15. But that is in our new annex over here, the old Head Start building, and that's where the slideshow will be. And right across from it is the cafeteria, and we have lots of concessions over there. For instance, want to sit around the table and talk or whatever, get to reacquaint with some people. In the library, people have generously brought in photos and grease hats, lamps, books, and just different things. And you need to go in there. We're hoping that we can break it up so everybody's not in the library at one time. If we can have like 25 people go see the slides, and then some of you go up and see the pictures. And then please go down the hallways. Look at the school, look at the displays the kids have made. There's a lot of learning to take place just there. And it talks about a lot of things that Betty told us about, the chores that the kids did, and the population, the different kinds of mines. There are 2 kinds of mines in the mountain. And there's just, well, 3 actually. But the kids have just done a lot of work this week. They've learned a lot. Everything they've talked about, I feel like I knew she was talking about because we've done all this studying this week. Also, we want to videotape some of you. We want, especially Tony Rollins, we want Ben Welch, we want Jim McKay, we want some of the older ones that we haven't got to talk to. And if you make an appointment up by the office, there's a chart on the wall. Just write your name up there. There's going to be videotaped. We're going to try to do this every 15 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever we need to do. Please come by there, and we'll be in there to videotape you. We need everybody to fill out an information sheet. We want to know who is here, what your address is, so that we can get contact with you again if we need to. We would like to know a number and the type of people that showed up. Are you here because your child was here? Are you here because you were mine? Or are you here because your ancestors? Or are you just here because you're interested? We need to know that kind of thing. We have 2 things that are for sale, of course. If you want to order a book, and there's a map in the foyer or in the hallway of the school that was in a bank vault. And Mr. Johnson, Bill Johnson, gave us a copy of that map. It's the original blueprint. And we're able to take it and get a copy if you're interested in one of those. We have a sign-up sheet for that also. Ms. Young, what am I forgetting? Concession stand, I work for that in the cafeteria. Mainly just visit. Go up in the library, look at the pictures and the things, get together and talk. Tell us what we could have done better. We wanted to do a tour. We had some teachers that were just invited and fit to do a tour. So maybe next time we can do that and take you actually on site to some of the places, some of the people that don't know where they were, or some of you that have not been there in a while. Maybe that could be something we can do next year. We have a lot of people that think that Foster gave us coverage and coverage and coverage, and we appreciate that. Rick Flack got us a table for us, Coke and chips and donated drinks, hot dogs came from Coast. We have lots of parents and volunteers that have helped us all. Well, we've been working for a year at this, and it's almost all half to us now, but we just really appreciate all the work that everybody's done to help us, and we hope that this is a Memorial Day, and if there's anything that we can do to make it better next year, let us know. And we just appreciate everybody coming and sharing with us, and let's make the best of it and get us all the information we can so that we can start compiling it and putting something together. I want a museum, Ms. Carmichael. And if you all can help me get one, let's do it. And that's all I have. Can you say something else? Okay. We need about 30 people to go see the slides. Right?
Okay. Tell me your name and your connection with coal mines. My name's Florida Short Goff, and I am the youngest daughter of John Short, who was coal miner. You're Lorraine?
I'm Lorraine Swift, Lorraine Short Swift, and my husband's dad. But we remember a lot about our daddy working in the mines and everything.
What's your favorite memory of your dad?
Well, my dad would take his, I may cry a little bit, but
That's okay.
I was the youngest in the family, and he would carry these dinner buckets. She didn't have one of those to show us but they were 3 compartments. The bottom was to carry water, the second one would carry the basics, and the top was for dessert. And he would always leave a little something in his dinner bucket, and I would, and you know, when he come home, I would know about time. This is for
Be watching for him.
I'd be watching for him, and I would run to meet him, and I would get whatever he had, no matter if it was just a biscuit. I would eat
Whatever.
it. It was good. And then one day it was my birthday. It was before I was about 5-year-old. I ran to meet him, and he had bought a Hershey bar for my birthday.
Which was a big treat.
It
then.
was a big treat then, and it was such a surprise, and it was.
He knew you'd be looking in his bucket. And we've tried to explain that to the kids about how they did it. Now, the way that I understand it, the bucket had a spigot at the very bottom, did it?
No, it was just.
Or they had a dipper they used.
They could get it out, drink it out of the bottom or whatever, you know, way they wanted. No, it didn't have a spigot in the
Okay.
one that I remember. Of course,
Okay.
I'm the younger one of the family, but that's where I remembered. It was just solid aluminum and a big long handle on it.
Now which mines did he work in?
He worked in the Corolla mines. 27 years, I think. And then he worked at the Ravenscroft mines the remainder of his days of working until he closed down. And of course he worked, you know, in little mines surrounding town, but that was the, you know, when it closed down, that's when everybody.
Right. And what did he do when after it closed down? What did he do for a living after that?
One time he went to Fork Mountain where there was the mines, and he didn't stay but 2 or 3 weeks because he was so homesick. So he came back home, and he worked at Camp Bel Air to help maintain the cabins there, and you know, and then he worked in the coal mines under the. It was on the railroad bed.
Right.
It was little mines there,
Under the mountain.
little walk-in mines. And then farming. He finished out with farming.
Farming. Did you live in a company house?
No, this is very interesting. Back when the mines closed down, why? I mean, before it closed down, we had several acres of ground, and I thought, you know, we lived in an old house. It was a house that was, my grandmother was raised in, really. And so we lived on this little, we called it a little farm, and we had apple trees and peach trees and garden stuff. And so we would take these apples and stuff to school, you know, and the kids, you know, they didn't always have it in the company places.
Right.
So, but we felt like that we was so poor, you know. We felt like we was poorer than anybody. But now, since we talk to other people, we all felt the same way. That, you know, we had to work, and we had to, we didn't have maybe a couple of changes of clothes, and maybe a pair of shoes in the summer, one in the winter. And in the winter, we always wore high-top shoes because we had to walk to school. We had to walk 2.5 miles there and back, and it was necessary. We had high top shoes, but everybody wore them, just
Yeah.
about.
Do you have a favorite school memory?
School now.
A school memory? Something that happened at school?
I guess, I was always interested in my school. I always was interested in getting my lessons. I wanted to have my lessons when I went to my class. But one of the things that was so interesting is at recess and dinner time, lunchtime, we could go down to the commissary, which is the company store, and we could take a dime, and we could get cheese and crackers, which made a good meal for us at lunchtime, and then we could get kisses, candy kisses. You could get 3 for a penny. And
That's a good deal.
boy, you think you got,
Yeah.
you had a whole, if you had
That
a
was a
nickel, you
lot.
had a whole lot of candy.
How often were you able to do that? I mean, you talk about you thought you were really poor and everybody, but could you do that pretty often?
To get candy.
To go get candy and
Maybe once a week.
I mean, like kids today think nothing about a candy bar.
I know.
mean, it's just like that's nothing.
I know.
It's every and
But you save a penny, you save another penny, and then I know I did this before I started school. I'd save a penny, and then I'd maybe have 3 or 4 pennies, and I'd send the commissary and the older children, she's my oldest sister.
Yeah.
She would bring, they would bring my candy to me.
bring it back to you. So you waited for them to get home too on those days.
Yeah. But it's interesting to think back on it and how appreciative we was, to have what we had. And,
Right.
But like the lady said, Betty said, we had to work. And I know that in the summertime, we would go to the field and work. And Lorraine, my sister, she dropped the fertilizer with a spoon, she says. And on a given day, we wouldn't have to go to the fields because we would do the wash,
So you had a wash day, iron day too?
Yes, we couldn't do it all in one day.
One day.
If we did, we thought we was real smart.
Well, if you only had like 2 outfits, you probably had wash day every other day.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
you washed an outfit and wore an outfit.
Yeah, and sometimes we had more than
Right.
one, but
I know my
2.
mom talks about they had 3 dresses, and if there was a special occasion, Granny would make them another dress.
Yeah, that's
I
the way
mean-
it was. It wasn't unusual to make a dress, and it was very common to make a dress for a special occasion at
Right.
all times. Maybe some Christmas or a special occasion. Well, we made a new dress, so it was interesting. It is now.
Yeah.
It was a hard time then, we thought, but it was interesting, and like I thought was interesting that the mothers was at home. And
All the mothers pretty much were at
Pretty
home.
much
That's
was at
that's
home.
what we've read. That there were very few women who were not the widowed women or the old maid school teachers was about all that there were that worked really worked
I
outside
had,
the home.
Miss Pearl Cannon, she wasn't married, and Miss Georgia Holt, she wasn't married.
As the teachers.
There's teachers.
Now, when you went to school, was it how many classes were there? Was it just
Oh.
one class? Were there 2 or 3?
When I went to school, and what was interesting, I remember this, the first day I went to school, I had a new dress. First, it was a good occasion. And she may have made it, my sister may have made it, I don't know. But anyway, it had a collar on it and had a big black tie coming down. I thought I was it. I went to
That's good.
school, and my teacher said, Mr. William Cowden, he said, who are you? And I said, I'm my daddy's daughter.
That's
So,
neat.
I thought that's all he needed to know. So he probably knew me anyway, but anyway, I remember I could go back to the place when he said that.
Yeah. I think we're going to stop there. Is there anything else you want to say?
Well, I've enjoyed it.
I wanted, Miss Holman had told me, you can just tell us who you are and where you were from and all that stuff.
Well, this is Jean McKay, and my dad is Uncle David McKay. Oh, I should say McKay. Uncle David McKay, and he came from Scotland, and he landed first in Pennsylvania, and then he came on to DeRosset to work in the mine, and he worked number 1 mines in Bon Air, and he was the mine foreman, if I remember correctly.
No, I haven't seen
And he started in the mines in Scotland when he was 12 years old, so he really knew all the roads of the miners.
Yeah.
And I remember when he would come home from work, well, I would run to meet him to get what he had left in his little lunch bucket. So I thought that was better than what I could eat at the table. And so I was always glad to see my dad come home. And I remember more about the town, like the incline and the commissary and the depot. And it was a thrill to go down that incline and go see the depot and things like that. And then I remember the credit office, remember the doctor's office. The doctor's name was Dr. Little. And then it was the pump house, I remember that quite well. It was right there kind of in the center of the town. And then we went on up further, and our schoolhouse was on the left. And let's see, Professor Cowden was our teacher. And I remember walking to school and walking home, and that was quite a thrill. And I had a hound dog, and he could tell the time better than you could. And he would come to school with us in the morning, and then at 4 o'clock he was right there to take us home. And I always look forward to my dog coming to take me home. So I guess that's about all I remember.
Tell us a little bit more about the incline.
Oh, the incline. Well, that was quite interesting. It was from the store, the back of the store, it went right down to the depot. And it was thrilled to go up and down the incline. And so, of course, that was a railroad all along the bottom, you know, there.
Did they have a special car that you rode in?
Yeah.
Or was it just like a wagon car?
It was a little car that was, you know.
With seats in it?
Mm-hmm, yeah. So it was kind of neat to go down, up and down in that little car.
Could you just go and ride? Just go up and down?
Well, you had to, you know.
You had to have business.
Had to have business down.
Okay. Okay.
Tell about when your dad was in that accident, but he wasn't hurt bad. When the coal car, there was an accident, wasn't there, when the coal car let loose and pinned him?
Oh, let's see. No, let's see. That was when he was trying to quit his tobacco.
I don't know.
Well,
Was it when the coal car cable broke and he got between the cable and the mine and braced himself in order to stop it because there was some other men in the coal car, and they were riding in it, you know, and it broke, and to keep them from being injured or being killed,
he stopped the car.
he stopped it. He got between it and put his feet and hands against it and braced it, and which of course it injured him, but not seriously, you know, not too bad. Like he felt like that he wouldn't be injured as badly as the men were. Because see, these men were, he was foreman, they were men working under him, and rather he would be hurt than for his men to be hurt.
Jean, introduce Helen. We didn't do that.
Oh, this is my niece, Helen Grissom. And she's heard Dad tell a lot of things about mines, I guess, more than I listened to it.
What did he quit? Did he quit mine and then you did the rolling store? Because I remember him talking about people talking about him having the rolling store.
Yes, he quit mining, and then he had a he started the rolling store when he lived on the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And he would go all over he butchered, see. He would have his own meat, and I would help him kill the meat and things like that. So he did his own butchering. And he had a great big meat block like this that he would, you know, cut his own meat. And then he would deliver it, and he would take eggs and all that stuff for money, you know, and then he'd come in and sell them to the produce there in Sparta.
Where did you all live?
On the mountain,
Where?
where you live.
Where? Okay. Tell us about your house, because I don't even know.
Well, we had a 9-room house, And, oh, I should have brought a picture of it.
Yes.
I surely should have had beautiful. It was, oh, I loved it. And we had all kinds of apples, and we had all kinds of fruit, like berries, and all kinds of fruit. It was just, and we had 2 cows, and one was named Tulip, and one was named, let's see, Tulip and, oh, I've forgotten. Tulip and, oh, I forgot my cow's name. She's black and white. She had 2 big horns like this.
Were they milk cows, dairy
Oh,
cows?
yes, they're milk cows. And the Tulip was solid yellow. And she was the butter cow, of course. And the other one, she was the milk cow. So one of them wore a bell, Tulip wore a bell. And I'd have to go get my cows every afternoon, because, especially in the spring, because they did like to stay on the grass and eat grass. So I had to go to get them. And I'd come up the mountain with my neck around, well, what was her name? I don't remember. But anyway, I'll call her, oh, I'll call her.
She'll think of it tonight in her
Julie.
sleep.
And I put my arm around her neck, and she would help me walk up the mountain. It's got easier, you know.
Mhm.
And they were doing this.
Tell us a little bit about your chores at home, the things
my
you had to do.
chores. Honey, I had to go to the well and bring the water. We had 2 wells. And I had to get in the coal and kindling, and I had to milk my cows. And when they would have calves, well, Dad said, you take care of the calves, and I will buy them from you. So I took care of the calves, and that's where I got my little money. And I would help my daddy make cider and gather apples, make cider, and I would help my daddy cut wood, gather in the hay. I didn't do anything in the house. My chores was all on the outside. And
But did you have brothers?
oh yes, they were all grown and gone. See, so just Anna, my sister, and I were there. And my sister's husband was the manager of the commissary.
What was his name?
Jeff Lefty McBride. His brother to Charles McBride.
Okay.
So,
And my daddy was a bookkeeper.
The bookkeeper?
yeah.
What was his name?
He was not from around here. Very first grade bookkeeper.
Now, Gene, I know you because of church. Where did you go to church during those times?
Well, we had a 1-room house, and we went to church, and we called it the Nazarene Tabernacle. And my daddy and I wish I could remember names, but I can't. There was 3 men that took care of the place. One would lead the singing, and the other would do the preaching. And so we had that for quite a while. And we had a table that took care of our songbooks. And Mr. Lige England prepared this little table. And that's where we kept our songbooks. And we had just a stove in the middle of the building. So that's where we had our first church. And our first revival that I remember, the evangelist was Elijah Weaver. And that was the first time. And they really shouted then. Yeah, they shouted. Because I was sitting down on the bench. And they all got so happy. They come over and knocked the bench over. And I was sitting up. I had to get up, of course. But, this preacher would preach until he was just wet. He didn't have a dry stitch on him. And Mrs. Bud Broom, she had real long hair, and she had it pinned up with combs. And when she'd get so happy, she'd shout, if the comb would go that way, the comb would go this way, and the hair would just go down. So we really had good times then in the Nazarene church. And then finally, of course, they built one in Sparta, and we closed that one and went down there. It wasn't that far.
After you went to Bonaire School, did you go to a finishing school or Pleasant Hill Academy or anywhere?
I went to Trevecca.
Did you? Really?
Went to Trevecca College.
And we were talking about the house. The house was placed back where about where you shed is,
Okay.
down on the flat. Where the house is now in the trailer, that was my grandmother's front yard.
Uh-huh.
And from the house, there was a walkway came up to the street, the highway.
And then I know where the well was used.
Well, there was two wells.
And one on the
back,
porch.
and then the
One
other
A well on
down
the
field.
porch.
The one down the field.
one was sulfur, and the other one was iron.
Did you think you were, like, most people say, you know, well, we were poor. You know, most people that we've talked to said we were poor, we didn't have much, but we had plenty to eat. Did you feel that way growing up?
Honey, I didn't know what poor was. We always had plenty to eat. My daddy always made a good living for us. He was a hard-working man. He made a good living for us, and we had all that we needed. You know, we raised it.
Right.
And we couldn't have starved because my mother would can meat and, you know, both pork and beef, and we killed our own beefs and things like that, see. And we just had plenty to eat. This was,
I'm still poor, though.
well, like, we didn't have a lot of money to spend, but that's not everything.
No.
Money isn't everything.
But you know, that's what most people say, you know, well, we had plenty to eat, but we thought when we went to school, you know, that we were poor.
And we had
you know,
plenty to
Everybody
wear.
was in the same boat.
Right.
Yeah, it sure was. And this is kind of funny. My sister and I, we had to bug potatoes. And we'd take a little bucket and a little brush and we'd bug the potatoes and we'd go to Mother and say, oh, Mother, so let's have a potato bug pie.
Oh, yeah.
What did she say to that?
She'd say, stat. Now what else?
Anything else you want to tell us?
Unless I don't guess I can think of anything else.
You remember moving off the mountain?
Yes, and I didn't want to move.
Why did you move?
Well, see, my mother, the one who at home, and I worked in Sparta, and Dad was in the store, and so Mother was by herself all the time.
Now, the store that did he have that store downtown that you ran?
Mm-hmm.
Did he? Okay. She had a store down there, I remember going in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he operated that by himself. I don't remember. Oh, he started about 19 and 30 or 31 is when he started his little store down there. And so he worked by himself until 1951. Then I was working in the Sparta Spoke Factory, and I stopped working there and started helping him. And then he.
Where did my mother come in at? My mother operated that store while he was on.
But
She
she-
operated the store and he went out on the rolling store. And then they both got tired of it. I reckon they switched.
Oh.
And she went out on the rolling store and he stayed there.
Now, did the
Yeah.
rolling store come up on the mountain? I mean, if that
Yeah,
was in
everywhere.
town, it went everywhere. Like,
Everybody called him.
all over White County
Helen
or
McKay.
farther away from that, than that?
What?
They called my mother Helen McKay.
Okay.
Which that was her name.
It was mostly on, you know,
Mostly White County.
on the mountain, things like that.
My mother stayed in the store to begin with, right after Grandpa started it. And then she came up here. That's when she and Daddy separated. And she came up and in the store. And worked there.
I guess I was in Chattanooga then working for a guest.
And then, well, you might have been at that time, I don't remember. But yeah, I know you were there, but then you came working at the Tubbs.
Yeah, I started 1923, I think, was part of the Spoke Factory.
How old were you
When I started working,
at the Spoke Factory?
honey, I guess I was about 20 or 21, something like that.
And how old are you now, Jane?
I'm 88.
We'll
Anything
We'll be in
else?
June the 6th, yes.
You did wonderfully.
See, that was
Okay, I'm Joseph Smith. My father come to Bonaire in 1902 from Glasgow, Scotland, a little place outside of Glasgow, Lamb Hill. But they come to Bonaire, and I can tell you a little more about that, but I won't. But anyway, they come to Bonaire, and they went to the hotel. They stayed in the hotel, went up the incline to the hotel, and they lived there till 1904. And then they moved to Eastland in 1904. And on the trip, they moved in wagons to Eastland in 1904. There wasn't no railroad at that time into Eastland. They had opened up this mines over there, and the coal, the outcropping with coal. So they built the coke oven. But anyway, my grandfather went there, and my Aunt Annie, she was a young girl, and she took pneumonia and she died. So they had to go out and find a place to bury the people. So she was the first person that was buried in the Eastland Cemetery, which was in 1904. And I wasn't born until 1926. But I can still remember the town and the company stores and the ball fields, the depot and the trains and all of those things. When we grew up and we were, that was our lifestyle. We knew what we had on the weekends or something. About the only thing we had to do was go to a ball game. And also, you can vouch for this one. I saw my first movie at the Eastland School. It was a silent movie, but it was something to look at. I mean, it was something new, but we had a lot of fun. Hard times, yes, we had hard times. Like I told you, at the school, we would carry our lunches and sometime an 8-pound lard bucket. That's the way we had, maybe it was corn on the cob, green beans, potatoes, maybe it was bean and biscuit or whatever we had. That's what we took, and we had picnics under the trees in there at, I took you and showed you the company store, or the company store, and how the train went into behind the store, and they had a supply place back there. And then when you went to the company store, right to the right of it, if you was facing in front of the store, was the check office, the post office, and out from that was the doctor's office. And then right up above where Elmo is was a barber shop. My dad said that Uncle Dave Bacon used to come there and play music. Now, you get shield balance for that. And then Hickory Hill, people lived on Hickory Hill, was to the right of there. And then the whole area was full of people. Out here, there was as many as 265 houses. That I couldn't vouch for. I don't know, but there was a lot of people live in this area. But anyway, as far as mines closing, I can't say. We were trying to, we figure somewhere between 33 and 35. Now, I believe that would be close, somewhere in that area. She was born in 1925, and we were both good sized boys
We
and
couldn't
girls.
remember all that. We couldn't have remembered all
There's
this.
no way.
And remember dates too.
One
One thing that we haven't went through yet that we got from Bill Johnson was documents between Dr. Young and a law firm in Nashville that concerns the closing dates of the mine, and we have when they were talking about why they were closing down and what was happening.
After that at Eastland that I remember Dr. Barnes
Yeah, Dr. Barnes.
and a Dr. Clark. And you
Dr.
all
Clark.
not remember Dr. Clark.
Dr.
He's not
Clark's
been
son
dead
was-
too long.
His son was a dentist down here in Sparta too, Dr. Clark.
Well, I mean, Dr. Clark
Yeah,
himself
the old-
hasn't been dead too long.
Dr. Barnes left Eastland and went to Pikeville over in that area. There was a mining area in there, and he went. Yeah, I guess he went as a company doctor there. And money, we didn't have any money really, but we were happy. We did, but we were talking about when they shut the mines down. I think after they busted the union, they opened the mines back up for a period of time. I believe, I don't know, but I believe Jim Bohannon and somebody run it for a while. And then they closed it for good. And then, of course, in 1939, in that area, 38, 39, times was hard, and people started opening up for the truck mine. And the first one I can remember was right there on the railroad. Uncle Rob opened up our section tank and across the track. And that's the first place I ever worked there, was on that tipple, that mine's there. But, you know, it's hard to realize what really was there in that area. I mean, it's just like people come there now and they're looking for Eastland, they just go right through them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was talking the other day, we were talking about progress. And I said, well, if our people would come back and they go in the way we go in now, they wouldn't know where they're at. Because the ranches and their times changed. And that's just the way it goes with our communities. There's people live there that they have a thing at the Eastland Ballpark, which will be, is it on Labor Day weekend?
Well, they haven't set the date yet, but it'll be sometime in August. I call it a homecoming.
Yeah, it's a homecoming. And
For anybody that live Clifty, Eastland, Mulberry, all the surrounding communities.
And it might do you girls good to come over there. Because there is people that live there, that lived
Yeah.
there years ago.
And come for that
They
event
do.
and
We
would
had
and be able
people
to
from
tell
West
us
Virginia,
stuff.
and in fact, there was one boy I thought was dead, and there he was as big as life. That's one thing I wish, I've been able to tell you girls, I wish if you ever go to Beckley, West Virginia, they have a museum up there. It's a mine. It's a coal mines. It's like a truck mines, but they have all kinds of equipment. It's not very high. They'll take you in there and they show you cut machines, the way they used to cut coal. They'll take you in an electric motor, and they'll take you through the mines. They'll show you wood bolts. They'll show you all different kinds of machinery. It is an experience if you ever get a chance. Don't fail to go and see it. It's not that expensive. You can go. It's not that far.
Right.
You can take that toll road over to Beckley, get off at Beckley, and go into that mine and look at it. It would be worth it. It'd be a good trip for you that you'll never forget. But
I'd like to see the cutting machine because
oh,
my
they got
husband ran one.
what
I'm
they
in
call a
Morgan
bottom
County.
machine. Now, my mining experience is altogether different. I worked in truck mines, and I just lived in that was it. And I decided if I'm gonna work in mines, I'm gonna go where I can make some money. And my father-in-law was working at Clinchville Coal Company over there, when it was Bill Turner Red Mines in Monterey, and it was a union mine. So I asked him one time, I said, I'd been over there at another mine trying to get on. He said, you on the job? I said, I mean, I can get you on. So he told me to come over and I said, you on the job? And I said, yeah. So I went over and they hired me. And I worked there. I worked with Harry Chiddix. It was my boss. I worked with Charlie Flatt, Robert Graham, Dave Yacht, Les Alexi. Many of you ever know Les Alexi. He worked at Ravenscroft. All those guys worked at Ravenscroft. Peggy's father died with black lung. And Charlie, I don't know, had a heart attack killed him. But it was altogether different than what our forefathers. I'm proud of my heritage, and I think anybody that had a father that grew up in this country working coal mine should be proud of it. We have a family reunion next week. Last year, we had our family reunion, and I told each of those boys and girls, the young children, they ought to be proud to live in this area that we live in, because we have one of the best places in the world. And from talking to those, we got two of them now. That one of them from Florida's building a new home here, and one bought 40-something acres down here at on Little Gap Road, Kenny Goddard, and they live in. He's from Maryland, and Terry's from Florida, and they're coming back here to live. And they said, I'll agree with you. It is. It's a wonderful place to live. And all of you should be proud of your heritage. And if you're a coal miner, if your dad is a farmer. There is a guy that worked in Ravenscroft, Ron Pack. And he was a fine man. I worked a long time with Mr. Pack in a truck mine before I went to Monterey. And he told me he left Smithville, come to Ravenscroft to working on a farm. And he said, I'm still working on that farm. He never got his farm, but he spent his life. He lived right there where Sam Pack lives, right in there.
Was that Sam's daddy?
I don't know where Sam's daddy or his aunt.
I don't know either.
I think it was maybe his grandpa or something. But I worked with Sam Pack too. I worked with his wife's daddy, Tom Larry. And,
That's my uncle.
yeah, I worked with him. But so I could tell you just numbers of people that were here, and that was their way of life. Mining was that's what they did. Her father worked in the mine. Our grandfather worked in the mine on her son. Our grandfather Reeves was born in the Rock House. And
Yes.
it sure was. Born in the Rock House. And his mother was a Fraser, Eddie Carolina Fraser. And so I think that our families, I'm proud of them. I'm proud of all of them.
We need your name, your whole name, maiden name, and everything.
Oh, my name is Elma Lee Reeves, Welch. My dad worked in the coal mines. Of course, I grew up and married a coal miner, and he worked in the coal mines for 27 years. He's disabled now. He wasn't able to be here today. He would like to have been here, but he wasn't able to come. But I'm like Dude, I wouldn't take anything for our experience of the way we was raised. He knows my mother went to work in the post office. When I can't even remember starting out. It must have been about 3. And she worked for 25 years in the post office. So when you're working with the public, you really know everybody. And you wouldn't take anything for the experience of being there. And anybody who was sick, Dude knows if anybody's sick, we was always there to help.
That is one thing that I think that we have lost touch of in our country.
It's helping each other.
Vouch for this. That was one thing, the closest of coal miners and their families.
Or
Somebody
even-
was sick, they went and stayed and helped take care of that person. If they were dead, they dug the grave and they'd set up with them in the night time. If they didn't go to no funeral, it was set up for the night time. Take them the next day and bury them. Her mother was one of the smartest ladies I have ever known. She was smart. She could work.
She helped her grandchildren even.
She was the smart and talk anything you want to talk on, any subject. I don't care what it was. She could tell you.
Her name was Fanny Spain Reeves, and she went to school in Smith. And came up here and she taught school at DeRosset and Springtown and Mulberry.
Yeah. But I think that, to me, sometimes, I think that our people, I think you're doing a wonderful thing. I think that's one of the best things in the world for children to look and see what their forefathers has done, and still that people love one another and can cling to one another. That is a thing that is just about gone. It is. It's a thing. It's a fact that people don't seem to love one another. My grandchildren, I run with them, do a lot of things with them, but we're talking about mine and all that, but I still believe that we've lost the closeness of the family, and I think that is one thing that all the people vouch for that you talked to about mine, that they were close together.
Well, the
They
whole
did.
community, it's not just each
Yeah,
family, it was all, which a lot of people were related to, but the whole community, it's, even all our research, it's just like the community was, everybody was there for everybody else, and it didn't matter.
I want to tell you another thing. Now, she knows, at Eastland, on Christmas, okay, they'd have a huge Christmas tree.
That's what I was fixing to tell you. Just go right ahead.
You don't tell me.
Go right ahead.
But anyway, they'd have this big Christmas tree. We were talking about it out there, but the company would make sacks, and you wouldn't believe it. Man, they were
at least
huge.
this big.
And
They'd be a
listen,
dozen oranges, apples,
I've
bananas,
never seen such
grapes,
sacks in my life. And
nuts.
the girl, they'd put a few dolls on this Christmas tree, and they'd have a little nickel bag of marbles. That's what the boys got, and our eyes would be out there looking for those marbles. And that's what we did. We played marbles. My knuckles was so sore I couldn't even
And they
say.
would have plays at the end of school, at the close of school.
Oh, yeah.
And I missed that.
we
At the
would.
close of school and have all the plays for the children to be in. I missed that.
Look,
Yeah.
we were talking about the sack. Now, they did that. It was, in fact, I guess that's about all the oranges and apples that we got.
And the company did that for
company did
the
that, yes,
miners'
yeah,
children?
yeah. They'd get up there and they'd call out certain names, 8 sacks. Lord, I mean, a sack for each child. And we go home and we don't, next morning we'd be sitting in bed in them big sacks. We had a ball.
And that's where our tradition comes from for giving fruit in our stockings.
Well,
Because it
yeah,
doesn't mean
yeah,
anything to the
but
kids nowadays.
Linda, I think today that
Kids get
they
too
just
much.
overdo it.
We do.
Overdo
Kids
it
get too much.
because,
It's like
They
Christmas every time you go to
don't
town.
appreciate it. Now, we didn't get anything. We got a sack of marbles. The boys got a little nickel bag of marbles, and the girls were lucky they got a little doll or something. But no, that's all our parents could find. And we appreciate it, didn't we?
Absolutely.
We appreciate it.
After the mine shut down, did your dad truck mine or what did he move?
I'll tell you, after the mine shut down, my dad had a single wheel truck, and he hauled I told you this before. He hauled bugwood. You remember them low that old?
Yes. I
They
drove
look,
the
now
truck.
that goes to show you, after the mine shut down, my dad hauled bugwood and they loaded it in the railroad cars right there by the ball pile. I told you know that the other day. They loaded it right there. And then, after that,
loaded what?
it was an acid wood. They called it bugwood. They had people out there cutting. It was 8 foot. A rig was 4 by 8. It was 4 foot long, 4 high, 8 foot long. That was a coal. And they hauled that and they put it in there and it was already seasoned out. I don't know where they took that stuff.
I have no idea.
But
I
I'd
just
say they
remember
took it to, anyway, they shipped it out of there. And that's what he did for a while. Now I'm gonna tell you something, and I'm gonna live vouch for this. Times got so bad, if it hadn't been President Roosevelt, people would starve to death, not only here, all over the whole country. And that's when, what they did, they started sealing these old mines up, and they put a filtering system in them to purify the water. And she knows it to be the truth. They did this. And those carbide lines out there, I was thinking about when I sat up out here the other day. At 4 o'clock in the morning, you'd see people coming out of Eastland and walking. They wore those carbide lines and walked all the way out here to Dross and called ride and worked down here on Bonar Mountain. And if they hadn't had that, $1.25 a day, I believe what they got, something like that.
Well, dude, who was it that they'd make the cross ties?
Well, I made cross ties myself.
Well, I mean, did they make them for the company that
No,
used on the,
no.
They didn't make them, did they?
J.R. Don then moved, they were cross-tie hackers. Bill Hires,
Alvin Van Winkle.
Alvin Van Winkle, Bryant's, they made cross ties. And when I was just a boy, I used to snake ties from them for a nickel a piece. It didn't make no difference how far it was. And they got 35, 40 cents a piece. And I was making cross ties when I went to the Army. But now you talk about hard work, that was hard work.
And talk about mom working in the post office. I remember when stamps was 3 cents each.
Yeah.
Postcards was 1 cent. There'd be a lady come down, Fanny, could you loan me 3 cents to mail this letter? I really need to mail it. Mom say yes, and Mom put it down. They come back and pay it, mind you. But she was really good to them about helping them do their mailing.
I think myself that is when the communities went to pulling together, is when they had the Depression. People had money, lost it. People killed themselves. And I just wonder what would happen today. Maybe I shouldn't say this if it was to happen. Cut it off and I'll tell you something.
Yeah, okay. Wait a minute. I can't find the
Do
button.
the best you can.
Okay.
Allergies.
Tell us who you are first.
I'm Gertrude England. I was of Gertrude Stamps, married Carl England. And my dad was Leslie Stamps. We lived on Bonaire Road. And I went to school, the old school. And I brought you one of the new ones. You probably had some of them. But a lot of things happened while I was there.
Now, was this in Bonaire or Ravenscroft?
No, Ravenscroft.
Okay, and you lived on that Bonaire Road. Okay.
But I started my first year of school in Bonaire, but don't remember too much about that.
Okay.
So.
And was
yeah.
your dad a coal miner?
Yes, he was.
Well, you're one of the few people that I've heard that even knows about the old Ravenscroft School.
Oh,
See,
yes,
we
Mary-
just today have seen a picture of it, but we haven't even seen pictures of it.
But Professor Ashford was the principal. Ray Cowden was my teacher. Mary Prater was my teacher also, and then Dr. Ashford's wife was the little primary. So I know Reen Cooley's the first girl ever wore a short dress. We just thought she's gone crazy. Her dress come with here. And so we played ball. I got my tooth knocked out in scrub. That's why I've got false teeth. A Haskell fish slung his bat in the air, and I was looking up, it come across here, and Dr. Hutton slapped the hot stuff in my mouth. I thought that my lips went up here down. And I remember when the depot was there, it was some of Carl's folks, England's. I married into England. They was going to be Ku Klux Klans. Maybe you heard that.
No, I hadn't heard that.
No, we hadn't heard anything about it.
Okay, they got all these sheets on, they went down under a mountain, going out, well, you'd go up through Ravenscroft, down the mountain that way. The man named Hunter, he was a bootlegger. And they decided they'd go out and
Scared him.
take care of him. So he killed 7 of them.
Goodness.
And that mountain was covered with sheets. Or the sheets was hanging on the bushes. They was getting out of there. He also killed his own son because he was running, he lived next door and he was running in his nightclothes to his dad.
Huh.
And their name was Hunters.
Now,
And
is that, you got out there by going on the Pack Road and on out
you
to
know-
Rock and Roll out through there?
You know, Pack Road goes this way.
Uh-huh.
That was Colored Town.
Right.
Okay, you go, turn this way and you go on through, there's a gate there.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes right over the mountain. And there was houses there. So the company owned that. And that's these guys just dressed up as Ku Klux Klan. And the depot agent was one of them.
And
They
the
had-
black man killed 7 of them?
No, he wasn't black. He
Oh,
was
he
white.
wasn't?
He was bootleg.
But he was a bootlegger.
Oh, okay.
So
They
they
made
were
whiskey
they were
back
in
in the
his,
mountains. He didn't bother nobody. But they just thought, well, they'd whip him. I don't know why. Maybe he wouldn't even have no whiskey.
And he killed 7 of them?
There was 7 of them.
Son. Why did they build, go ahead, is that on
Well,
that?
it's like I say, he killed his own son, but he by mistake.
Mhm.
He just went shooting when they was ganging up around him. Don't much blame him, do you?
No, I don't know.
no. He was defending himself.
Yes.
Going back to the school, do you remember when they built the new Ravenscroft School?
No, I had never gone from here then. But I was back here and took a picture. And when I left school, Ray Cowden was still a teacher and Miss Mary Prater. I rode up the mountain many times with her in that little old square top. I'd go home with her from school, showing out with my Uncle Luther Stamps that had a store in Sparta.
Mm-hmm.
So she drove back and forth from Cherry Creek.
Well, tell us your memory about your dad.
My dad got his leg broken at mines, and we lived on Bonner Road. I was 11 years old when my mother died, and she had gone over to my aunt's. I had a sister that couldn't talk, and my mother always prayed for her to die before she did. He got to take care of her. So she died 3 weeks before my mother. And my mother said to my dad, if I'm in a dying condition, if Pearl is, I don't want to be here. So we took her across the lot to my aunt's on that main street. And she waited in the room, she passed. My sister died that same day, and she never did ask where she was or where we'd been, never asked her. And my dad was going across to see my mother, and that was the Healy's Convent went over. And we all thought that was a warning. And it was just a big comet with this string of fire. And we thought, well, she did. She died the next day, but we thought it was a warning. And she died happy because my sister was, she said they wouldn't be
She
good.
wasn't worried about
Wasn't
your
worried
sister.
about her.
What did your sister die from?
Doctor said, I don't know unless it's from your mother's prayers. That's what Dr. Hutton said.
Where'd your mama die? Was it?
Well, we lived in the valley a while. In our house, we lived a 2-story house, and it burned. And she stayed in there and throwed out furniture till, and she come out onto my grandma's and sat down. She was red, and blood just squirted out, and she was never sick, so it turned into TB. Done something to her lungs.
How did your dad, you said he broke his leg, how did he break his leg?
2 cars, coal cars in the mines. The bumped and caught him. And we had a neighbor that always teased him, said they had to splice it with bone. And he said they put billy goat bone in his leg.
That was uncommon for back then, I bet, wasn't it?
I was. He was in Nashville and they spliced that. And I don't know if it's another bone or part of his bone or something, but that guy just teased him. It was a billy
Well,
goat
when
bone.
he was laid up and not able to work, how did the company help your family?
You had a little pension, you know. They didn't call it pension, I forgot what they called it. I had an uncle that got his back broke in there, and he lived 17 years, and he always got a little money from the mines.
Was your dad's leg all right after it healed?
Well, yes, he walked a little crippled, but not much. That just bumped in between the cars, coal cars. And many times he'd have, a lot of times he never made a dime in that mines. He would be all day in that mines and wouldn't get a car to load. And we all had to go to the check office every day to get your food, what he made that day. So that's the way we lived.
You remember the whistle blowing for him to go to work?
Oh, yes. I remember the whistle blowing. We had a little boy get lost. Daddy Lawson's grandson. We called him Daddy Lawson. And he scared all the kids. He lived up that road toward Belmas. He lived here and Belma turned off.
Was he a black man?
No,
No.
no. But he liked to scare little children, and he scared his own grandson, and he ran away. And they hunted 3 days down that mountain, and they found him. He's okay. He said he slept with the bears. That little boy's name was
How old
Arlie
was
Fish. He was 4 or 5.
Oh, goodness.
Is this kin to Ben Fish? You keep saying Fish?
Yes, yes, probably.
Because Ben
Yeah, I
lives
think-
in about the only mining house that's left in
Yeah,
Ravenscroft.
Ben does. And that was Ben's grandfather.
Okay, that's what I'm wondering.
So we had times there with Ravenscroft.
What do you remember about, we've heard about the movies. Were there movies in Ravenscroft? Do you remember?
Not while I was there. But I remember the Christmases with the Christmas tree.
Mm-hmm.
And our school, it had 4 rooms, but they could raise them like a whole room. And my Uncle Jesse England was always Santa Claus. That tree was just covered the stage. And it went little sacks of apples and oranges. It was like a grocery sack we get today. It had everything in it. Each kid got one. That was the thrill of their life, and the company put that on.
Mm-hmm. That's nice.
And I've had a few little presents put up there, but some of my folks, and them that had more, they had dolls and whatnot up there. But us poor kids, we didn't have stuff like that.
But it was a big treat to get
Oh.
those apples and oranges.
Oh, that's all we cared about. And you believe it or not, we never saw an orange only on Christmas. And my dad would put it up, where we wouldn't eat it up. He'd smell that and go crazy. That was poor, wasn't it? But we was happy,
Yeah. We've heard stories about the school. Did you ever get a whipping in school?
No, really, I didn't.
Did you see anybody?
I sure did. My brother got a whipping every day.
How did they whip him? With a
With a-
paddle or a switch?
Oh.
Or?
Ray Cotton used a switch. He called it the shillelagh. He wasn't too easy. And I saw him whip a girl till the blood ran out of her legs.
Oh, my.
Ooh.
So he'd whip them on the legs? Did he whip
Yeah.
the boys on the legs too?
Yeah, he whipped. Well, the boys had breeches on.
So make a difference.
And then he would punish us, make us stand in a chair up in front of the class.
Stand in the chair.
Stand in the chair. And he was rough. His daddy was a rough teacher. I hope they can know. You
Nobody like
what
that.
I'm saying.
Back then they were all pretty rough, I think.
Oh, land.
What did you write on? Like we would have paper the kids write on.
We had tablets.
Tablets.
I still got some books that we had back when I was going to school. Like they said primer and so and so. And every once in a while I give Sydney's kids one of the books so they'll have them.
Yeah.
So,
Now, did your parents have to buy your books,
yes.
and then you passed them
Then
down
we-
to brothers
then-
and sisters?
Then we'd pass them down. If we didn't have any, well, we'd sell for a little bit to the next. They just get so old and ragged.
Yeah. Everybody used them.
Oh, there's just many funny things I could tell, but you have to think about it.
Do you remember riding the train to town? Did you ever go to town?
Yes, I rode the train from here to Clifty.
Mm-hmm.
I can barely remember that. And my uncle lived over there, and I don't know if he worked in the mines, but they lived in a tent. Great big thing. Had floors, sidewalls, wood, and they had their cooking stove in there just like we had in house.
So
Now
it
that-
wasn't a tent like what we think of as
No,
a tent.
not
It was
like
a
we-
portable house, more or less.
More or less with a tent top.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Had wood floors, and it was warm. And so that was my first train ride here.
To Clifton. How old were you? Do you remember?
I was probably 5, something like that. Sometimes I can remember 5, and sometimes better than I can now.
Yeah.
Did your dad work at Ravenscroft until it shut down?
Yes,
What did he do after it shut down?
he went up north with us. We left here when he was 19. I was 19. Well, we lived a little while in Ohio and come back and the mines had shut down. And then we just all moved to Indiana. Stayed
And
there
what did
50.
he do there?
He worked on farms
Did he have any health complications from the mine? Did he get black lung?
No. No, they didn't. They
What was
said,
his job in the mine?
digging gold,
Digging?
loading
Gold
cars.
digger.
And if they had cars, they made some money. If they didn't, they didn't.
Mhm.
So Dad stayed and took care of us. He never married again. I was 11. I had a little brother 3 and a little brother 6.
Did you take over a lot of the household
took it
chores
all.
at that time?
I took my
Were you
little brother.
still
3
able to
years.
go to school?
I went to school. I took my little brother. My other brother who was getting up. He could go at that time. I took my 3-year-old brother with me. And Mrs. Ashburn, the teachers helped. He'd go out to play. Somebody was always watching him. Or he could come sit in her room. And he was 3 years old. And if I saw him crying, well, they'd let me go out and take care of him.
That's neat.
So
They let
they're
you
still
finish
on.
school like that, you know, so that you could still take care of everything.
Yeah,
too.
that was good. We had real good teachers. Oh, but Ray, he whipped hard. He lost his temper. But
So
I
you had
saw
to, you
it.
grew up real fast though, probably.
I sure
then.
did. And I raised those little boys. I had 5 of them, got 25 grades, had 13 grands. And the good Lord has blessed me, but I haven't lost any of them. Oh, just can't believe anybody could be that lucky.
That's great.
But I remember the 7 caskets they had them there at that depot. They was laid out there.
When they shut that.
And this uncle, he was an England, but he had married my aunt. He was one of them, but come out there with his sheet hanging on the bush.
But he escaped.
He got
He
away.
escaped.
But he flew.
Bet they didn't do that anymore.
No. And on Halloween, we couldn't wait to get up on Halloween to see what happened outside. They would be the toilets turned over. They would be buggies on top of the depot. And we don't know how they got them, but that was a big thrill, like Christmas.
Well, so that's what my dad tells about turning the outhouses over.
Oh, yeah.
He was one of those mean old Bon Air
And we had a little colored man that come around every month and cleaned our toilets out and buried it in a hole. And they had a colored school like Ravenscroft, and they had a hotel like Ravenscroft. I played in that hotel.
I know. It's
Where
still
was
going.
the
on.
colored
Okay.
school? Because
It was, you know where Falmouth is?
Uh-huh.
If
Right
you
on the
make that
corner.
curve, it's right here.
there was a building there where Glade Creek Road goes, you know, the Pack Road and the Glade Creek Road, in that corner. Do you know what that was?
There was nothing there.
Nothing, okay.
That used to be a little park where we'd have dinners. They put that house over there. So I lived up that street.
We're just
So
trying
she
to-
could tell us, map it out for us.
Yeah.
You did good.
I was 5 weeks old on the train. It's the way we-
When your family moved here?
Yeah, I was only 5 weeks old. They left Maryville and came to White County.
In 1920,
1920.
in 1920. And came to work in the,
February 1920.
okay.
And he went to work in the mines in July
After that same year, your dad.
1920.
And what's your name?
Esteline Holman Cash Dollar.
Okay. And your dad's name?
Brant Holman.
Okay. How long did he work in the mines? Which mine did he work in?
I'm not sure about that, whether it was Easton or Ravenscroft. But there is, the Corolla Mines is on the property that he bought.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother owns it now, right in Holman.
Okay. What's one of your memories, like of him coming home, or one of your memories of your dad?
Well, one thing that I've heard him tell was that he almost got killed in the mines. A piece of slate fell across his back and pinned him in the water, and it was nearly knee deep. And Riley Johnson was in a room next to him and heard something, and he came in there to see about him. And he had to take something to prise the slate off of it. And I wondered if that wasn't one of the reasons my father decided he had to get out of the mines. It would be for me.
Yeah.
Because he didn't work in the mines. We left
Bonaire in 1924. He never did work in the mines after that. I don't know whether he was working in the mines at that time or not. But we moved to Lost Creek to a farm at that time.
And so he started farming.
Yeah.
And
Well,
when
he had that place out there where the shaft is that goes down into the Corolla mines, and he traded it in on that place down there. And then in 1941, he came back and bought that place back and moved back out there.
tell us about the trains.
Well, every time I see the depot, I think that's where I first got off in White County in Mother's Arms, you know, because we came in on the train. And they had told me all about the theater. And of course, I remembered all about that. And where Tip Top was, y'all were talking about that. And the things I know. And then I heard a guy say that they were 8 feet of coal out there at the Corolla mines, and the reason it closed was they got to the Hardy line. And Mr. Hardy didn't need the money, and he wouldn't sign them no right to go any farther, and they had to close that mines because of that. They didn't have anywhere else to dig coal there.
That's what Betty Hill's book says, that they reached that line, and which I talked to.
My dad told me that, and then there was some other guy here a while ago told me the same thing.
Now, they said there was a bathhouse in Corolla. Did your dad use the bathhouse, or did he wash up
Yeah, it was in the corner. Since you mentioned the bathhouse, I remember the bathhouse being there in the corner of the field where the road crosses.
Right.
Yeah, I remember
That's where they
that.
told us it was.
Did they use hot water from the boilers? Is that what they did?
I don't know how it was heated or anything, but I do know they had a great big house down there that was the bathhouse.
Was there any other buildings close to the mines that, were associated? Like the Mule Barn, I heard was close somewhere, but I didn't know where. You remember where it was?
The what?
Mule Barn.
No. I don't remember anything about the Mule Barn, but I said there was a lot of things I could remember there, and I was only 4 and a half when we left there.
I'll say. When they took a bath at the bathhouse, did they put their dirty clothes back on? What did they do?
I don't really know.
I hadn't thought about that.
Tell us about the theater. You said they told you about the
Well,
theater.
Mother
Tell us
told
about
me
the
that
theater.
they had this theater there, and it was silent movies. But it was the first theater in the county.
This is at Bonaire.
It's up over the store. And I remember about the script. They couldn't spend it anywhere only at their store.
Did they say how often they showed movies at the theater?
No, she didn't tell me that. And of course, I don't know whether they went or not. But the one thing I'd like to visit would be the incline. Have you been there? I've always heard about it, and Mother told me it was real steep. And I know we went back and forth to Sparta. That was the way we had to go.
But you don't remember it?
No.
I think the right of way is still there. I think you could tell that that's what it is, but I've not been there.
We've not been back there to even see if we could find it.
But they moved back to the mountain in 1941, and most of the children grew up out here.
Did you go to school here? If you moved back to town when you were 4, then you didn't go to any of the mountain schools?
Yeah, we moved back, I guess, in 1925, and lived on the Hardy place in the old store building, on the Hardy place for a year. My daddy used to peddle in Bonaire because there were people from Lost Creek that would come out here because they had money, And the women would ride horseback and carry their vegetables, their chickens. We've seen them pass our place, coming to Bonaire. Well, Daddy, he had a 1-horse wagon and an old gray mule that he peddled around. He used to sell molasses and sweet potatoes and everything off the farm out here, and that was the reason he moved back, I think. And I started to school at Bonaire. I went part of a year, and we moved back home. But I can remember going out here that first year better than I can, going back down there and going to Lost Creek to school.
What do you remember about it?
Well, one thing is these big girls had dolls, and they had their playhouses over in the edge of the woods. And they'd sweep them out and had rocks laying around for the rooms and stuff, you know. And one of them was Martha McBride that married the Rollins. And the other one was Pearl Cowden, the principal's daughter. And another thing I remember about going to school real well was, I know I was coming in to get in line, and it wasn't Martha, but it was Pearl that run into me. She was nearly grown and knocked me down, and the principal took her in the office. I said I hated that, you know. Principal Cowden took her in the office to talk to her, you know, about it. And those are the two main things that I remember so much. But I just thought these girls was just something else. There they were with their dolls, and they were a whole lot bigger than me, you know. Had their playhouses, and they'd go over there and pretend they really was having a time, pretending they had a home. So I guess I've told you about all I know.
We appreciate
Well, you did good.
stopping in and somebody.
Let's shut the door.
Ow. We've been starting off more or less just tell your name and then tell us what you want to tell us.
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
We're going.
Okay.
You ready now?
I'm ready now.
My name is Verna England. And my husband's name was William, better known as Trap England. He was born January the 28th, 1901. And his daddy died when he was 16-year-old. He went to work in the mines and supported the family, his mother and 5 children, and worked in the mines for 35 years. And we'd get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'd pack his lunch, and he'd go to work, and he got out at 3. And the whistle would blow when anything happened in the mines, if anybody got hurt. And we didn't know what had happened till somebody come home, and it was a miserable life.
It'd be scary.
Because we didn't know who was hurt or what had happened. And I don't know, I guess that's about all I know.
What mine did he work in?
He worked at Corolla Mines at Bon Air, and when it closed down, he went to Ravenscroft and worked there. And
How did he get to work?
the truck would haul him to Ravenscroft and back.
We read about that. Where did you live? In Bon Air?
I lived there in Bon Air.
In a company
Spearmint
house?
Cottage.
Or you
where-
lived in the Spearmint Cottage?
And when the mines first closed, we moved to Chattanooga and lived down there a while. And we come back and bought the old Spearmint Cottage. And we lived there till it burned.
Tell about who you bought it from and tell them about who you bought it from, Dr. Young.
Tell us about Spearmint Cottage. Like how you came to live
Well,
in Spearmint Cottage.
The Spearmint Cottage was, they gave it to Dr. Young when the mines closed. And Wrigley's bought into the company, and they named it Spearmint Cottage after Wrigley's. And there was a big, like a package of Wrigley's chewing gum on the tree out front, and it's Spearmint Cottage. And the walk is still there. That goes down to the house was a spear, and it's still there.
Tell them about how we bought the house from Dr. Young with everything, even salt shakers in it.
How did you buy the house? Was it furnished when you bought it?
It was completely furnished. There's 4 bedrooms upstairs. Every room had a bed, a dresser, and a washstand. You know, an old-fashioned washstand. And downstairs was a dining room and living room. There's a big quarter-saw, you know, oak table in the dining room and a sideboard. And everything was there, even to the china and silver.
Who did you buy it from?
Bought it from Dr. Young.
Why did he sold when the mines closed down, or did he move?
He didn't want to live there. He was going back to Nashville, and he sold it to us. And we got all that, and we thought 12 acres of land, but when I had it surveyed out, it's 15. We got all that for $350.
Goodness. Now, did you live in another house before that? Before you moved?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where was that?
It was over in Bonaire.
In one of the company
Mm-hmm.
houses?
In one of the company houses.
What did you think when you moved in that big house?
Oh, I didn't know it was lost, and the children,
Thought you was
they were
rich, I guess.
scared. They'd go peep out and look out in the hall, and then they'd run till they got down to the kitchen. And then they'd come back. They're scared. The house was so big. And
Were you going to school?
it had 10 rooms.
Were you going to school at Bonaire when you moved in that house, or were you older?
She was married.
Married then?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. And
See, Daddy was working.
I was just 65-year-old when my husband died. But we lived there till it burned, and then we built the house where we live now.
In connection with your house that you live in now, where was the Spearmint Cottage? Was it on that same side of Spearmint Lane where your house is? Is it?
The Spearmint Lane, now that was a private road, and it went out to Spearmint Cottage.
Okay.
And
Is it close to the Dibble house where?
it's close to where I live now, right in at the back of where I live now.
Okay.
The foundation's still there, and the walk that went down to the house, and the walk is a spear. There's a lot of history about that place there.
Now, where was the incline in relationship to Spearmint Cottage? Is it close to there, along that bluff?
The incline that went down, it wasn't too far from there.
Do you
But,
remember the incline
And
at
that
all?
went down to the depot, and they hauled the things up to the store up on the incline.
Do you remember the incline, riding on the incline?
I never did ride on it. I didn't want to.
Why not?
It went straight down.
How did you get down if you didn't ride on the incline?
I didn't go down there.
Okay.
If we went anywhere on the train, we went down another way, down to number 1. And we didn't go down to the depot.
Do you remember Tip Top? Tip Top train station. Do you remember where the Tip Top was? Is it? Could you get on the train there and go?
You could get on the train at Tip Top and go down, and the train come out at Tip Top.
Where did you buy your groceries?
Sparta. Oh, we bought them there in Bonaire then. At that time, there was a company store, a big store. They kept everything, dry goods and food, and then upstairs over the store was a theater, Rupert Theater. And there was a saloon there, and a barber shop, and a calaboose. That's where they put the people when they got into meetings.
Do you remember, we read somewhere that musical people would come in. Do you remember any musical people that would come in and do little plays or do music would come in?
No.
A chalaquay? We've heard that word before. We've not heard anybody say anything about that.
I don't remember.
It was like a touring dancing group. We had to look it up in the encyclopedia. That's what the encyclopedia told us.
Yeah.
Like a touring.
But I don't remember anything. I guess I didn't get to go to it, so I don't remember it.
When you said that the whistle would blow and nobody would know who was hurt until they got home, and you said it was a miserable life, was coal mining life as a whole miserable, or just that part of it?
A coal mining life to me was a miserable life. You never knew when they left in the morning whether they'd get back that night or not. And they come here so black and dirty. Had to have their water pot and take a bath.
Now, they didn't have a bathhouse at Bonaire, did they?
No. But they had one at Ravenscroft.
And at Corolla.
And he would take a bath there when he worked there.
Was that a help to you?
Oh, it was a big help to me.
Did they put on clean clothes before they came home when they took a bath? Or they put their, okay.
Yeah, they had their clothes they wore, you see, and they changed from their mining clothes and left them at the bathroom and wore clean clothes on. And that was a big help to me.
Did somebody else do the laundry then for their mining clothes, or did they bring their mining clothes home
They brought
ever
their
so
mining
often?
clothes home, and they'd wear them till
So they couldn't stand it
they
anymore.
was stiff and you couldn't hardly wash them. They were so black and stiff and dirty.
Did you ever go into Ravenscroft community when he was mining there much?
I think, to me, mining life's a miserable life to live.
Well, you said you got up at 4 in the morning to fix his lunch. What time was bedtime?
They couldn't eat everything in the mines. Everything wasn't good, and he had to carry the water. They had a lunch pail, and he carried his water in the bottom, and then there's a tray, and you put the food in the top. And he loved green fried tomatoes and biscuit, and he said they tasted better in there than anything that he could take. And I fixed them for him.
Did you get up and cook breakfast at 4 in the
Get up
morning?
at 4 o'clock, cook breakfast and pack his lunch. And then he'd get home about around 3.
What'd you cook him for breakfast most of the time?
What did I cook for breakfast? Well, I always baked biscuit, because he always had to have biscuit. And I'd make gravy. Do you know what gravy is? Gravy?
Yeah.
My daddy makes
So
it.
that's what we'd have, biscuit and flour gravy and scrambled eggs and bacon and things like that.
Okay. So did you send the biscuits that you made that morning in his pan with him?
And I'd pack that in his lunch.
Would you use leftovers from supper the night before for his lunch, or would you
No, I'd fix it fresh
fix it that
morning.
morning?
Yeah. So it would be fresh.
After he went to work, what did you do the rest of the day? I know you didn't sit around.
No, I had to take care of the children, and I had to do the washing, the laundry, and take care of the house.
What about food preservation? Do you remember having a can and
Oh, we made a garden. We canned our food. We didn't have a refrigerator. We had to can our food. And I always canned, we'd pick berries and can them. And Joanne and Josh loved to pick berries and can berries. They'd get out and pick berries.
did you slaughter meat, or did you buy it from the rolling store, or what did you do for meat?
For meat,
Uh-huh.
we raised our meat.
Did you?
We
Okay.
butchered our hogs and had our own meat at home.
And did you
And
can that
raised,
too?
raised chickens and had the chickens and eggs, things like that.
Did you cure most of your meat, or did you can some of it? We've heard some of them that canned
No,
it.
we salted it
Salted.
down and cured it.
Yeah. Okay.
It was a pretty good life. We didn't want for anything to eat.
Yeah.
But still, to me, a miner's life is a miserable life. You never know what's going to happen. And the last time the whistle blowed, I remember how scared I was. And when he got home from work, Mr. Black had got killed in the mines. And he run an electric motor, is what he did in the mines. And hauled the coal from the mines up to where they brought it up out of the mines. And he hauled him out there, and they brought him up on that, and then took him to Nashville, and he died just in a few minutes.
So that's when he was working at Ravenscroft.
That's
So you
right.
could hear the whistle blow all the way from Ravenscroft?
Oh yeah, you could hear it flying. Real good. It was a loud whistle.
I guess it was.
To hear it that far away.
Uh-huh.
Well, I think that's about all I know that'd be worth anything.
We appreciate it for stopping in for us.